Here's the thing about innovation. It's not a destination you get to, or a box you can check. It's a journey. The City of Amarillo's journey of innovation began in the summer of 2021 when Mayor Ginger Nelson was invited to apply to the Bloomberg-Harvard City Leadership Initiative.
Bloomberg-Harvard City Leadership Initiative is a program that the former mayor of New York, Mike Bloomberg, supports financially. It is all just about supporting local government, local leadership, where cities are trying to make people's lives better. Last summer, I got a text from the mayor of Dallas just saying, hey, Ginger, the Bloomberg City Leadership Initiative program has reached out to me about contacting you for this program. Can I share your contact information? I didn't know what it was, but I said, have you done it? He said, yes. And I said, great, go ahead and share my info. There are so many benefits that we've gotten from doing the program. Both the mayor and 2 city staff members have had ongoing training throughout the year from Harvard faculty. So in those classroom sessions, we've built relationships with 37 other cities. The benefits will be ongoing. And again, all of this at no cost to our citizens. We didn't go looking for this, but it's been a real blessing. And I think we plan to steward it well.
The innovation track is designed to help cities think outside the box to generate the best solutions with their residents. This 10-month training program helps cities learn how to adopt design-based innovation techniques that engage residents in testing, adapting, and scaling creative ideas with lasting impact. When the mayor and city manager first approached me about building this innovation team, I was immediately drawn in by the idea of building a culture of problem solving that included true collaboration between City Hall and the community it serves. We want to create solutions that work for everyone. The City of Amarillo Innovation Team includes 11 cross-departmental city staff, all committed to active and meaningful participation through the entire program. Our mission? To align on a problem, learn how to test ideas with residents, and then begin planning for implementation. Each team member was specifically selected for a skill or trait they possessed and could bring to the team. Kat Massey, the Parks Department Beautification and Public Arts Coordinator, is our project manager. Kristen Wolbach, the Assistant Director of Parks, was an obvious selection to be our learning lead. Amanda Barrera, Amarillo's Library Director, has spent her entire career ensuring community access to library programs, making her the perfect choice for our community engagement lead. Sergeant Carla Burr, Amarillo Police Department's Public Information Officer, was recruited for her proactive communication skills. Chris Quigley, Director of Transit, has developed many innovative programs within transit and within the community. Jason Riddlesberger, our Director of Community Development, works closely with the homeless program, HUD programs, and rental assistance programs, making his knowledge and input immeasurable. Aaron Palacio, Assistant Director of Human Resources, moves through difficult tasks and situations with ease and grace. Mitch Norman, Human Resources Director, has created numerous equity and diversity development programs for City of Amarillo staff. Jennifer Ramirez, Assistant to the City Manager, brings her positive attitude and remarkable data skills to the team. Alan Harder, Assistant Director of Public Works, has an engineering background and does not shy away from expressing his views. Alan would have loved to have been in this video, but last week he found himself with his hands full. With our experienced team eager to get started, we move forward into the 10-month innovation curriculum.
The curriculum developed by the Bloomberg-Harvard team is really exciting. It begins by outlining the 5 mindsets that a person must consider when approaching a problem from an innovative perspective. Those mindsets are impact-driven, creative, people-centered, iterative, and collaborative. With those mindsets guiding us, we jumped into the curriculum. The first of 3 phases is the understand phase. During this part of the program, we learn how to frame the problem and then conduct and evaluate research until we are able to reframe the problem and really lock down our goals. The second phase is the generate phase. This is the phase that our team is about to enter in and we're really excited about. During this phase, we'll learn to ideate and prototype possible solutions and then test and refine them until we're ready to pilot those ideals in our community. That leads us to the deliver phase. The third phase is our opportunity to truly test out our solutions and to track the progress and measure the impacts of our programs. This is where the rubber hits the road and our chance to deliver true solutions in partnership with the community.
After our team was formed, we had to identify the problem of choice for our innovation track. We didn't have to look too hard. Illegal dumping is an issue that has affected the city of Amarillo for decades, with impacts that ripple through every corner of the city. We also had the benefit of a built-in partner, Public Works Director Donnie Hooper, who's forward-thinking, innovative in his own right, and is always happy to jump in.
My name is Jennifer Ramirez. I'm the assistant to the city manager. Today we're going to talk with Donnie.
So I'm Donnie Hooper, I'm the Director of Public Works.
What is the problem with the illegal dumping?
You know, there's so many issues with illegal dumping, but one of the main things that illegal dumping causes is illegal dumping. If you have somewhere where there's an illegal dumping site, it's always going to generate more. More people are going to see that. They're going to say, oh, it's okay to put it there. And so it's just this redundant problem that generates over and over and over. It's unsafe, it's unsanitary, it generates rodents and other things that people just don't want to have to deal with. And if you're the recipient of illegal dumping behind your house, of course, you've got to deal with all that.
Mm-hmm. Have you looked at like how much it costs the taxpayers?
Just look at it this way. We have trucks, we have personnel that are constantly out in the alleys or in vacant lots, removing the items that were illegally placed there. So, you know, you have staffing, equipment. Equipment's expensive. It's not cheap anymore. Plus you have the fuel and all the operational costs that go along with it. So it's not cheap to do that.
Do you find it's mostly residents or like homeless or transient?
You know, we see a pretty good mix of it between residential, sometimes it's people that are coming in from the county, that are coming into the city.
Really?
And
They bring stuff into Amarillo?
And they leave it, you know, where it's most convenient for them, where they don't have to make an extra trip or drive out to the landfill. So.
Do you think there's a high turnover of renters here because of like the housing market? Do you see that as like being a part of this problem? Like, I know it's a big puzzle, and maybe that's one.
I don't know if that's part of the problem or not. I'm sure it's associated with it. You know, I don't know. I think the bottom line for us is we just want to get a message out to landlords and to people that are in the rental business that, you know, there's a way to properly get rid of those items, but it's not placing it in the alleys or illegally. Reaching those people that through means of social media we found, and through means of producing nice videos, things like that, it's tough because I don't know that they really pay attention to those kind of things. Does that make sense? Yeah. I mean, if they don't care about placing the trash in the proper place, they're not going to care about watching the instructional video that says this is how you're going to do it. So, but I do think we've seen a positive effect from it. And we're hearing more and more from citizens that are coming to us, and instead of complaining and saying, hey, we're tired of this, they understand that they're a team, and we have the same issues that they have with it. We don't want it either.
What kind of items do you see that are being dumped?
Anything and everything. That's generally what we see more than anything is furniture, tires, tree limbs, tree stumps, things like that.
Now we had a team and we had a problem. After all, it's easy to see why illegal dumping is a problem for the solid waste department, but we wanted to know why it was a problem for the community. How does it affect our neighbors? And so we started conducting research, and I mean a lot of research.
Once our team had created our framing statement and identified what assumptions we had about illegal dumping, it was time to proceed on to the next major step in understanding the problem, which is conducting research. Certainly, a review of literature where you look at articles, published papers, and other similar resources related to the topic is important to that process, but it's absolutely crucial to engage with the community. To do that effectively, we needed to create a map of all stakeholders involved in the project, build a plan for conducting research, interview people who represent those stakeholder groups we had identified, take great notes, of course, and communicate what we learned to others. The stakeholder map helped us determine the people most affected by illegal dumping in the San Jacinto neighborhood, as well as those whose experiences and insights might help us better understand the problem and any root causes. The major groups we identified were neighborhood associations, particularly the ones representing San Jacinto and North Heights, community leaders, refugees and the agencies that serve them, community groups like Keep Amarillo Clean, city staff, educators, contractors and local waste management companies, and of course, the folks who live and own businesses in the San Jacinto neighborhood, as well as a handful of residents who live elsewhere in Amarillo, but who also have been vocal in their concerns about illegal dumping. At this point, the innovation team broke up into several small groups to maximize our reach. We conducted dozens of interviews with people representing each of the stakeholder groups. Oftentimes, the individuals we were interviewing would say, you know, you really ought to reach out to so-and-so. I think they'd be a great resource. So it was like dropping a pebble into a pond. Our opportunities to engage with additional stakeholders and forge those new connections increased with each interview we conducted. To improve our chances of arriving at a successful outcome for the project, we knew we needed to lean in to understanding how community members experience challenges related to illegal dumping, as they are the real-life experts on the day-to-day impact of that problem. Outreach and engagement of this kind is critical to begin to build the trust between the organization we are representing, the city, and the people it serves. Demonstrating to stakeholders that their perspectives and insights matter and have weight makes it easier for us all to work together later in the design phase and even further down the line in the future. If everyone's invested in the process, it has a much greater chance of reaping the results we hope to see.
The community interviews were the favorite part of this process so far for many of the members of the innovation team. It was time to cultivate a deeper understanding of illegal dumping by engaging residents and stakeholders, building trust with the community, and promoting collaborative relationships. We needed to interact with the community and with business owners and with neighborhoods that it affected.
Mildred Dorton, past president of the North Heights Advisory Association, board member for the North Heights Linen Service. Happy to be here.
And I'm Lilia Escajeda, jack of all trades.
Sherry Ferguson, board member for San Jacinto Neighborhood Advocates.
Jason Barrett with Sanjak Coalition.
What was it like being asked to interview for something like this? Not really having any expectation of what this process was going to look like. I know most everyone in this room has probably talked to city leadership at some point, right?
I was excited and I was pleased to be asked to join this type of project in the city.
I was happy to be a part of it. Yeah, I'm really hopeful that we can actually institute some programs, some solutions.
As people who are really advocating for change in Amarillo, great change, like positive change, like how do you see this process being beneficial?
I think the approach is great. You know, getting people together, getting it all distilled down, and then having a meeting like this.
We're not going to get immediate results because a lot of education is going to have to take place. Because once people put their trash in the trash bin, and I put mine in the trash bin, they don't know what happens to it after that. I think maybe the education piece needs to be first and foremost, so there'll be some expectation of what happens if you don't do it this way.
I'm curious, what does success look like for you when it comes to what we're doing? And not specifically to illegal dumping, but to whatever that we may use this type of process for.
I think getting you guys involved, number one, is a success because most of our neighborhoods have not felt heard for the past 50 years.
Since I have been back in the community, there's a lot of distrust for the city. They're not going to, they never have, they're going to do what they want to do. If we know, the community know, okay, the city is involved, and let them hear it from the horse's mouth, not from me or anyone on the board, but specifically from the cities, and can put a name with a solution, I think that'll make a big difference.
So I think the process of this is really for us to try to tear down the assumptions that we have in the beginning about the problem and talk to a diverse group of people who have a better understanding of it so that the city and the citizens partner on a real solution.
The interviews were extremely helpful to us and challenged many of our assumptions. We took all the data we collected and we began to make it make sense.
We concluded that our initial assumptions weren't necessarily inaccurate, but because they were so broad, we were able to confirm that there are many different contributing factors to illegal dumping in the city of Amarillo. We decided to narrow it down and focus on one specific area and how we could address the illegal dumping specific to that community. It was the San Jacinto community. We felt that we'd be able to make more of an impact by focusing our efforts on one particular area instead of trying to address the issues so broadly. With all the initial research that was conducted by all the participants, we gathered all that information into one area, and then from there we identified trends. Then we narrowed those down into more specific categories so we could start to identify core contributors or some of the core challenges with illegal dumping. Once we consolidated those different interviews and identified those trends, that led us into creating our 5 core insights, which are leading our efforts at this point.
Our first insight was city collection operations need consistent, clear communication. Solid waste policies are not always consistently implemented and communicated. Communication barriers discourage citizens and perpetuate mistrust. In this day and age where we're at now, different people get their information from different sources. I think that's the biggest thing it's made us think about is the different ways to communicate to the different parts of our city to make sure they get the information. Because I know for a fact that some of my neighbors that leave their trash by the dumpster or whatever, they just don't know there's another option. The solid waste department has come up with some great ideas and some great ways to mitigate some of the trash problems that we have in our city, but no one knows about them. So it doesn't matter how great your program is, if the citizens of your community don't know those programs are there, they're not successful.
Our second insight is some property owners prioritize economics over long-term community building. Landlords run their business to get an income, and there is oftentimes no mechanism to incentivize landlords to do more than the minimum. In some of the research we've done, that a lot of these landlords are out of sight, out of mind. So there's no visual for them to see that this property is dilapidating or that there's trash gathering. They have someone else manage it, and we've seen a little bit of that in the research. And when you look at really who owns the property.
So insight 3 and 4 are really similar. High renter turnover is a barrier in forming true community. The high degree of turnover in San Jacinto specifically prevents a sense of pride in community, which contributes to problems with illegal dumping. Additionally, the ratio of owners to renters in San Jacinto is too low to nurture the growth of community. San Jacinto consists of about 27% homeowners and 73% renters. A high renter turnover rate may cause a devaluation of the community and a marginalization of the residents. So the high turnover rate in San Jacinto basically is you have renters coming in every 6 months or less. Some houses don't keep them very long, and then you try to build that sense of community, but you have somebody new consistently and constantly coming in, which every time starts that relationship building again. They leave, somebody else comes in, and you're constantly in that building phase, and you never get to an established phase of community.
Our final insight revealed that the homeless population is picking up items and furniture dumped illegally, creating clutter and randomly scattered items in the neighborhood. Not only does that make it more difficult to pick up, it can also spread bed bugs and create other health issues.
With these new insights in hand, we refined our problem statement even further, narrowing our focus and homing in on the mission of this particular project. We chose to focus on household waste for this project because it affects numerous groups, including property owners, tenants, construction contractors, and property management entities. In San Jacinto specifically, rental properties are sometimes run as large operations managed by property management firms in highly transactional ways with high tenant churn in the neighborhood. As tenants move, they leave possessions behind, and either they or the property owners illegally dump them. This is a problem as the whole neighborhood is affected, including the tenants, business owners, neighbors, even the city as a whole. The situation encourages others to add to the problem and illegally dump. So now it's been 4 months. Getting to this point in the process has been fun and hard. and frustrating and exciting, but the team has really gathered around each other and aligned with a common goal. From the very get-go, like when you first heard about the innovation team, talk a little bit about who has thoughts about what that felt like.
I thought it was an exciting opportunity because I feel like we have so many naturally good ideas or come across good ideas, and it seemed like an opportunity to really enhance our ability to process them and bring them to fruition.
I'd say that I was excited about it because I knew that I was going to get to collaborate with really cool people.
I loved getting the community involved and going out into the community and interviewing those to really gain their perspective of how this affects them.
And just the reputation of the organization involved. I mean, Harvard, Bloomberg, those are big names. And to know that we would be going through a methodology that would hopefully lead us to a sustainable solution for these problems that are faced by the community.
I think it'll be a really important thing that exists going forward too, is just knowing that you have people who have differing opinions and just processes and how they work through those problems together. This process has kind of given us the ability to just like work through failure a little bit and be okay and comfortable with acknowledging that it exists.
It's been an exercise in patience for me. It's, I've told y'all this many times that I like to have solutions really quickly. And this has told me to pump the brakes. Let's take the time to really delve into the issues and get the perspectives that we need in order for this to be successful.
One of the big things that I think we learned it in here, we talked about it as a group, is that there's so many multitude of ways that people gain their information. And so if we're not tuned in all of those ways to put our information out, really doesn't matter. That's really translated to me, even just in my job, thinking about different ways to get those things out to people, police related.
How about a couple of examples of how we've taken what we've learned here and applied it directly to something? Like Carla already mentioned a little bit about like some ideas she got from communication improvement.
As soon as we started doing this, I wish that I could go back 2 years and start implementing this process on what I'm working on with the homeless solutions. But I'm gonna be implementing a lot of the things that we're working on here, especially the interviews and going in and getting the stakeholders and having their point of view added to what we're doing.
I would say, something that we're actually working on actively right now are solutions to some of the workforce challenges we're experiencing. And we're kind of engaging in a very similar exercise where we have populations that we're going to be interviewing and understanding what their problems are. And then we'll bring those back, to a core group to work through and see how do we retrofit these ideas into our current structures so that we can try to change how we're interfacing with the workforce.
And I think the future is bright. Like that's the exciting thing as well. Like this team is here to work on illegal dumping, but I think that every single one of us knows that this is far more reaching than the impact that we'll have there.
I'm really excited to see how we can partner with the citizens through processes like this, where it starts to feel like we're advocating for each other, where you build these relationships on this very grassroots, organic type of way, and then they start to become advocates with you.
So what now? Now it's time to generate and develop and test those new ideas. We'll continue to stay focused on being creative and collaborative and impactful. That's how we'll find the ideas that will work, and that's what's really exciting for us. And while the Innovation Track program officially ends in December, this is only the beginning of the program for the City of Amarillo. We'll take this knowledge and these methods to other issues in Amarillo, and we'll know we're successful when it becomes a normal part of the way we do things, to the benefit of every one of our neighbors here at the City of Amarillo.